Hi, I'm Brandy Dusky, and this is EDL 854, Module 1, Communicating Who You Are. A little bit about me personally. I'm married to my husband, Ryan, and we have a blended family. Together we have 4 kids. The oldest is Tessa, and she and her fiance, Ryan, gave us our first granddaughter, Hazel Grace. My son, Aiden, will be a senior this year. That's him taking 3rd at state wrestling last year. My stepson, Cooper, enjoys hunting and fishing. He will be a junior this year. My daughter Ryan is headed into 7th grade, and while sports are not her favorite, she does enjoy babysitting. A little bit about me personally. Obviously, I have a lot of Ryans in my life. My husband is Big Ryan, my daughter is Little Ryan, and when Tessa introduced us to her Ryan, he became Middle Ryan. I enjoy reading for pleasure, though I have to admit I haven't been able to do that as often as I would like. Ryan and I are renovators, not quite Chip and Joanna, but we have been renovating our home in Glen Elder where we live, and are currently working on building a shouse, which is a shop house. So that keeps us quite busy. And then I'm in our camper right now. Last summer we purchased a camper and we are spending a lot of time in it this summer at the lake. A little bit about me professionally. I am a school psychologist. I just finished my 13th year at LCNCK in Concordia. Last year I was nominated and awarded the Kansas School Psychologist of the Year. That was quite the humbling experience. I have served on the CASP Executive Board since graduate school. That's the Kansas Association of School Psychologists. And my current role is the NASP Delegate, which is the delegate to the National Association of School Psychologists. And I am also serving my 2nd term on the Wakanda USD 272 School Board, currently as the Vice President. I am a lover of learning, if you haven't been able to tell so far. So my foray into administrative classes is just another way for me to hone my craft. The critical reflection questions in the assignment, the first one was to name 10 things that you gleaned from the 4 resources and explain why each one is significant. So the first thing that I recognized was that about 92% of school funding comes from state and local sources, 48% from the state and 44% from local. That's significant because local funding is mostly based on property taxes, so wealthier areas obviously generate more funding, and non-wealthy areas generate less, which can be quite disparaging for the schools in those districts. The second thing was that of the remaining 8% that is provided from federal funds, most of that is earmarked or set aside for specific programs. And that's significant because if states or districts don't participate in those programs, that's less funding that's available to those schools, further limiting resources in some places. The third thing was that it's the principal's responsibility to prepare the school budget with a record of projected revenue and expenditures. I found that significant because in larger school districts with multiple school buildings, individual school budgets can be quite large, and such an undertaking wouldn't be a small feat. The fourth thing would be that before conducting fundraising activities, a principal should discuss the purpose with staff and parents of students in the building. And that's significant because principals are responsible for ensuring that the school uses funds raised for the right purpose and that the purpose aligns with school goals and other applicable guidelines. So that's important. The fifth thing that I came across was that principals are responsible for understanding the financial limitations and flexibility of the school. That's significant because a principal must consider many factors, including available school resources, any background information, the needs of the students, the needs of the staff, and any other building-specific factors. The sixth thing was that principals must be able to read, comprehend, and create financial statements and reports. That's significant because it's in the best interest of the school and its students that its leader has a clear understanding of her role in the management of finances and the implementation of financial policy. The seventh thing was probably the biggest thing that I see and may have thought previously was that it's a common myth that principals are like CEOs of schools with the authority to make key decisions and strategically deploy those resources. That's significant because principals rarely have that financial autonomy regarding key financial decisions for their schools. And those decisions are often made by those of higher authority, the superintendent, the school board, etc. Providing principals with financial flexibility can better align spending with school priorities. That's significant because building principals typically know what's best for the students and staff in their buildings. And it's been shown that effective leaders, those that are able to make key decisions, have been shown to have a substantial impact on student learning. So that financial flexibility would allow principals to better meet the needs of their students. The ninth thing would be that rather than giving principals actual dollars to spend, most districts allocate staffing positions and other resources based on an antiquated one-size-fits-all approach. That's significant because the constraints of those approaches often limit principals even further, providing for allowable staffings rather than those that may actually fill a need. So the resource indicated that maybe our negotiated agreement says that every school needs X amount of social workers, but we're really meeting the need with social workers, but we really need this other position. Well, due to something like this, we're not able to fill for the need because of the policy that's in place. State legislators should explore innovative solutions to send education dollars directly to principals in schools. And that is significant because with actual dollars, principals would be better able to meet the individual needs of their schools and thus their students. So giving them actual dollars instead of those staffing positions or other contractual things would be more beneficial. The next critical reflection question was to identify the things that I have and have not seen my principal do and why I think that this is so. The districts that I have worked in are primarily in rural parts of Kansas, where the districts are quite small, 1 or 2 buildings. So maybe an elementary building and a high school building within the same district, and that's it. So most of the principals that I have worked with don't seem to have much of that financial burden because it often seems that the whole district budget is managed by the superintendent. Whereas in larger districts, it may be that those principals have a budget that they need to work with and create. So principals have those building budgets, but those are often more for incidentals or consumables rather than big budgetary items like staffing. I believe that is due to the nature of rural schools where there really isn't a need to segregate individual school budgets out of the overall district budget just because it makes sense to just allocate as it is as a whole district. The final critical reflection question is, what concerns do you have about being in charge of your school's budget as a future school leader? And I don't think that I'm alone in feeling that budgetary and financial aspect of leadership is one of the more stressful components. Making sure that dollars are appropriately allocated and accounted for is always a concern and one not to take lightly. The references that I used for this presentation from the reading. Thanks for watching.